Hi, welcome to the podcast Ease into Clarity. I'm Dr. Divi, family doctor turned intuitive coach, and I'm here to help you. In this podcast, we will learn mental techniques, emotional techniques, and spiritual techniques to change daily problems. So maybe it's your husband, your boss, your coworker, your kids, they're driving you crazy. You can email me any of your questions and I will use all the techniques I've learned over the years and help you. Grab your hot chocolate and make sure to subscribe. We'll see you soon. Ciao. Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Divi here and the podcast Ease into Clarity. So we're doing a slightly different session today. I'm going to be talking about my passion in the Woman Healing Woman work that I've been doing. And I know you've probably heard a few podcasts up till now about it. And I actually have a guest, Jackie, who's here, and Jackie McGregor who's here. She's going to talk about her, not necessarily her story, but also, we're going to have a conversation, her and I, a bit about the Woman Healing Woman conversation. And we'll have some fun. So, hey, Jackie, you want to say hi to everyone?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me on the podcast. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about this really important subject for sure.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. Yeah, it's been a while because I'm sure we can both relate, and I'm sure you as a listener can relate. As women, unconsciously we think we're second class citizens. And I know, especially if you're a woman of a skin tone, if you're a woman, who's LGBTQ, like the list goes on and on and on. And I've personally been finding that, especially since January of this year, it's getting louder. What about you? What about you, Jackie? What are you finding?
Yeah, I definitely have felt definitely my whole life, just that was kind of the dynamic in my family was like, the men make the decisions and the women kind of cater to their needs, and we're like the caretakers. We're kind of the ones that pick up all the pieces and make sure like the kids and them are supported. And then like at the end of the day, if we have time to do our own thing, then like that's great. But it's definitely doesn't feel even. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
that.
that
Go ahead. Sorry.
actually, oh, I was just gonna say, actually, like I've been a health coach for the last 15 years, and I'd say that was like the number one issue that we would get to with like any sort of lifestyle imbalance with nutrition or not working out or self-care is like it always came down to their responsibilities of like work plus taking care of the family and just like feeling guilt when they wanted to put themselves first. And it was like it was a big barrier for people to get over. And yeah, I've definitely seen it a lot, and it's it's an important subject. So
Yeah, it's so powerful what you just said, because that guilt thing,
yes.
they say in A Course in Miracles that the source of all illness is guilt, right? And women tend to get more sick than men, right? And women, we tend to take all the responsibilities. I can't tell you how many clients of mine feel like when, especially as their kids get older, if their kids are, say, doing a path that maybe the dad doesn't agree with, how the mothers feel guilty. Like it's like, right? And it's been fascinating to watch. And then the entire time the kids are growing up, the women often don't have choices, right? They aren't necessarily given the money to buy the right food. They aren't necessarily given the options, right? Like the number of things that women deal with that we think are just part of the lot we have, it doesn't have to be this way. Isn't that crazy, Jackie?
Yeah, and it's funny because I have certain like couple friends that are very more like new age and it's like more even, and then I have some couple friends that it's more that like traditional, like the men still like make the money and the decisions. And but with either of those two groups, like the women just feel like this responsibility that, like, especially if they have a kid, like they're in charge of taking care of everything. Like it's that like mental load that we take on. It's not even like the mindless chores and like thing, but it's like the responsibility of like always being ahead of like everything that like you need to do for your family, for yourself, for your partner, for your child. and it's just never ending. And, you know, like it's so amazing that we have full on like careers and all these things now, but it's so much to take on having both and just feeling the weight of that responsibility. And I don't feel like it's like built into men the way that it's like built into women, and they don't seem to like get as like stressed about it. They're like, what are you so stressed about? Like, we'll figure it out. Like, we'll figure out what our kid will eat like when we're out there. And I'm like, what? Like, yeah, like it's just a total different way of being raised in like the culture that we live in, and our expectations, I guess.
Oh, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more, right? And it's just like a never ending voice in our heads. And I'm not saying men don't have that voice, but I think I think, and I'm not saying all men do this, but I often find men shirk that responsibility to the woman. That's just like, oh, she'll take care of that. Oh, she'll take care of that.
Mm,
And none of this is conscious. I think that's, you shouldn't say none, but very rarely is it like, yeah,
yeah,
and it's not like men don't care. It's just become like millions of years of this happening. I think what we're seeing right now on the planet is women are saying, not so much no, but women are saying, can we change this? It's not healthy for any of us, right?
yeah, yeah. And actually, I have a 2-year-old, and my husband's been really hands-on with Aiden. And I told him from the very beginning, like, if we have a kid together, like, this is going to be like an even partnership. And I definitely wouldn't say it's like 50-50, but like I've chosen to take on more of that role. Um, but it's so nice. And like he's actually said to me, like, wow, like he just has like such a bond with our son that he doesn't see like all of his friends have like with their kids that weren't as involved, like especially in like the baby and like the younger stages. And he actually like really enjoys getting to take on a bit more of that like nurturing role. And sometimes he'll get mad at me because he's like, can you just let me like do my thing? Like, you don't have to like tell me everything. And it's even like my responsibility to like put that trust in him and like let go of my conditioning of like having to make sure it's all taken care of.
Yeah, that's so well said. So well said. And it just never ends. My kid's 19, it never ends, right? So
Yeah, I'm sure.
I know. And Jack and I were talking about, we've got this event called Woman Healing Woman. So I'm going to share with you guys, as some of you might have listened to previous podcasts, things that are coming through. And so we've got this event on the 22nd of June. If you're in Vancouver, here in Vancouver, at this beautiful center called Ritual. Jackie, do you want to tell them a bit about Ritual before I tell them a bit more about the teaching? You want to tell them about Ritual?
Yeah, so Ritual is a brand new space in Vancouver. It's on the corner of Georgia and Denman, and we are essentially an urban retreat center. So instead of having to go away to do retreats, to do yoga and breath work and some of these deeper healing workshops and modalities, essentially you can come to Ritual and do them on a regular basis where, we're really building community and getting in touch with our more spiritual side. And yeah, getting to participate in regular sound healing, breath work, different movement classes, and definitely different like half day, full day retreats that you would have had to travel probably for. So yeah, we're really excited to be hosting Divi. I've been a huge fan of Divi's work over the last couple of years. And so yeah, we're really excited to be collaborating with her on this event.
Thanks, Jackie. I'm so excited to be at Ritual. And if you've never been inside the space, you'll see why. It's beyond phenomenal. The light, you see Stanley Park. I'm not even going to describe it because I don't want to ruin it, but it's gorgeous. But let's talk a bit about how we heal these things. So as women, if anyone's older like I am, we probably remember Gloria Steinem back in the 60s and 70s. And there was like the burn the bra movement, which I really respect, right? Because there was a lot of anger and rage, which is a part of us stepping out of powerlessness. But what we're seeing a lot right now is this word that I'll use that you may never have heard of before called transmutation. So transmutation means is that we can shift energy. Got it? So you can look at something that's fear-based and shift it to love faster now on the planet than you ever could. And for me, when I do that work with clients, I can do it by distance for sure. And people that are in my online classes do experience it. But my online clients will tell you it's different in person. So that's why we're offering this in person. And I have been teaching a class called Women Healing Women online with clients from all around the world. And I had a client that I talked to this morning from Ireland who's in the class, and she's like, her whole life has changed. I've only been 4 weeks into the class. I've only been at it for 4 hours. Like, no joke, guys. It's like been an incredible class. And just after 4 hours, this Irish woman, who I barely know, was telling me today that her whole, like, she's older. She's actually older than I am, has totally changed. And she's been walking around with these wounds of an Irish woman her whole life. So I can tell you that transmuting can occur online, but in person, it's that much more magical and that's more powerful. What do I mean by transmuting? Transmuting is when you can allow the energy of fear to leave and allow the energy of love to enter. But in order to allow the energy of fear to leave, we need to be conscious of what it is. And I'm going to have some of my assistants there. They're going to help us. But I guarantee you 100%, because I've seen it in my online class. I've only been teaching for a month. These massive shifts in people. It's unbelievable. But part of it is we need to put a flashlight on it. And the reason we're doing it over a full day with movement and sound and meditation and journaling and me is because in order to put a flashlight on it, we want to be in a safe container. So we're only allowing women in. No men allowed. I love you, men. But because women can understand the pain of being up till 3 a.m, breastfeeding, and having to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to breastfeed again, wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning to feed their husband, and at 10 o'clock in the morning to feed their 2-year-old child, only women can understand that pain. Got it? And so in a Woman Healing Woman class that I've seen online is this camaraderie of coming together, that when we move tears and we move sadness and we remove that guilt, because guilt is one of those energies I think that we are done with. In order for us to heal them, the transmutation is going to happen. So yeah, that's like, I could talk for hours about what I've been finding in my Women Healing Women container, but rather than me talking for hours, trust me, you're gonna be blown away on Saturday. Yeah. So I know, Jackie, do you want to share anything else? What else do you want to add? Do you want to talk a bit about the yoga part and the sound healing part, maybe?
Sure. I've definitely, I've done retreats with you, Divi, and just retreats in general. And, the coaching piece is so important. But it's also important to like get into your body and like kind of let the intelligence of our body to kind of do its own healing, even if it's like unconscious. So, the movement portion, we're going to be doing a class called The Animal, and it really is getting connected to our more primal selves and, doing a bit more like somatic expression and moving energy actually like physically. And, we're going to get to actually like yell and throw some sandbags and really just like get it all out. And actually, Divi, this is something that you taught me in one of your workshops. Like, you need to start like hitting things. And I know you went to boxing for a while, but yeah, I have found it really helpful to actually like physically move those feelings. So like, after we do a big portion of the event with you where all of these things are coming up and like the energy is moving, to actually get to like, physically release it from our body and like shake and even like tap and do different things to kind of settle our nervous systems after is like, I think, a really important part of the healing process. And then eventually and after another portion of doing more work with you, Divi, we're going to do a guided meditation and journaling practice where we'll get you to really reflect on the event and kind of like some of the messages that came through to you, and like kind of taking more like going inward, like what is my own intuition telling me about my next steps, and letting your inner guidance kind of come through. Which I can sometimes say, like going to events is sometimes you move through things so fastly that you don't get to like digest it as it's happening. So this is just going to be a moment to like really take those and put them down on paper, and then be able to go home and reflect on them later. And then we're going to end with like a beautiful sound journey. And I say sound journey because there's going to be like 10 different instruments, and it's done by a music or one of our music therapists. and she's amazing, and she's really going to be working on, the base chakra or the root chakra and like the heart chakra, and really just like using sound and vibration as a way again to like settle our nervous systems, but also just like, move and release anything else that needs to settle before you go home. And yeah, I don't know what your experience is with adding those elements into retreats, but I always find it's like can make them a lot more powerful.
Oh, 100%. I typically, we do a lot of movement in my own events, not necessarily like a yoga animal class. So that's kind of necessary. And I agree with the whole, like the journaling part that you're going to take us through. I think it's going to be phenomenal for us to mind dump. And then the sound, I typically do sound at the end of most of my retreats anyways, because it's such a add-on bonus. It really helps to move the energy. So I'm super stoked. I'm super stoked. And one more thing I want to say to those people listening, even though our mothers and grandmothers had these stories, we don't need to. And I've really, really like, and I always say to people, if I can move through it, so can you. I'm brown. I was supposed to be a doctor, married to another brown doctor, living in Toronto, popping up brown kids. And my life is totally different. And if I always jokingly say to people, if I can move through the guilt and the shame that was put into me, guys, my story is, I can go on and on and on. My mother did not want to come to either of my weddings because I was marrying white people, right? And so like the shame and guilt that I have been exposed to, which I'm sure we all can relate to, mine is not more or less than yours. What I want to say to you is, if I can begin my healing journey, then I am so excited to help you heal yours. So, if you've been hurt, if you've been beat up, if you're in a marriage where you're not loved, if you're not sure about your sexuality, all of these things are pain stories that we live in and eat in and breathe in and smell. And it's time for each of us to give it up. And as one releases it, it becomes a trickle across the room. So I am so psyched. And the Divine Mother will be there in her full force on Saturday. So she will get us through this. Yeah. So Jackie, I'm super excited. Thank you so much from Ritual. Like, oh my God, we're so excited.
Yeah, one thing actually that kind of came through when you were saying that is just like one of the biggest parts of my own healing journey has been like learning to like be okay with expressing my needs and like my voice. And I think that's what can make a lot of us sick and like have more physical symptoms, is like holding all of that in. And yeah, and it actually makes me think of like my mom, she would tell me some stories. She's like, I can't believe I used to do that. Like she used to like make everything from scratch, and like she had 3 kids and was like a stay-at-home mom, but like, and she would like iron my dad's shirts like from, like every day, and just the total like kind of movie typical housewife. And yeah, she was quite ill at the same time while she was raising us, and she never learned how to like speak up for herself and to like be okay having her own needs and expressing her own needs. So I think even like part of healing the stories is just like learning to that it's like okay to have a voice. And like part of that can be really scary, because most of the time when you first start having a voice, there can be like some, you know, backlash, or like people not used to that and they might not like it. But I know over time it's really improved my relationships over time. But it's so powerful when like a group can come together and like kind of build that strength together to like break through the fear, and like not having to do it in a negative way, but coming from a place of love. Like you said, like you don't have to like express yourself even if you're angry about something in like an angry way. Like you can still do it in a loving way, which I think we're not used to seeing when people want to like stand up for themselves. But like love is ultimately what's going to like heal and shift this conversation with women. So yeah, I just love that this is going to be like a totally different like approach to like, changing the dynamic between like men and women in society. And yeah, I'm just really excited to see what comes out of this
I am too.
special event. Yeah.
I'm going to add one last thing. I think it's last. I don't know. Most people know that when, let's just say I was angry at my husband for not picking up my kid, or like, not even a kid. Like, let's just say I was angry at my husband because he doesn't contribute enough. Let's just say that, make that up. They say that when we're angry at somebody, it's actually because we're angry at ourselves. Got it? But I think most of us actually don't realize that, right? So I think as a community of women, we're angry that we were never allowed to speak our truth. We were angry that we put our needs second. We were angry that we didn't speak up and say, hey, I would like to go to the gym too. We were angry that, we decided to do X, Y, Z, and really our intuition said A, B, C, right? X, Y, Z was to please the family. So I think when we really understand the origin of anger, we can actually take the anger off our parents and our husbands and our wives and our whatever else, and actually realize, wow. And then we can actually free ourselves up. And I'll just say one last thing. Even if you don't do it for yourself, you're going to do it for your kids and grandkids. And for me, that is everything. Because I do not want my granddaughter, because I don't have a daughter, I have a son. I would never want my granddaughter to walk around with the stories that I had in my head. Like, it would break my heart for her to think the things that I thought about myself. It would like kill me. My granddaughter, who I don't have yet. Son, keep your thing. You know what? I say that as a joke. He's 19, no kids yet. But it would break me to think that a granddaughter of mine didn't think she was worthy. So in order for me to shift to affect her even a little bit, I have to heal my worthiness conversation. So I'm doing it for her, even though she's not on the planet yet. So
yeah, totally. Yeah, I totally agree.
Thank you, Jackie, for hopping on and chatting with me about this really important topic. And guys, if you're interested in coming, go to my website or go to Jackie, it's on the Ritual website too, right? I don't actually know. In the chat.
It's on our on our regular schedule. So if you go to June 22nd, you can see a description and where to sign up. Yeah.
And you can see it on my site and also on my blog, on my social media, I think, but I'm gonna make sure it's on Instagram right now. So love you guys so much. And thank you so much for listening, and know that these pains can be shifted because Jackie and I are doing it, and so can you. So thank you, Jackie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the 22nd, guys.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining me in this podcast, Ease into Clarity. It is such a joy, pleasure, and honor to be in your living room. What I would love is if you follow me on Instagram, DRDIVI, or go to my website, drdivi.com, or write a review. That would be even more amazing. Thank you. If you really enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share it with friends, family, tell them to follow me, because I think the more of us that listen to the fact that each of us can start to shift, each of us can shift mental things, emotional things, spiritual shift, to shift our daily reality. When more and more of us do it, we get a better planet. We get more love. We get more happiness. We get more joy. So I'd love it if you followed. I'd love it if you shared this, because it would be such a joy and an honor. And again, if you have a question, guess what? I'm here for you. So send me an email, easeintoclarity@gmail.com. And as they come in, I will answer them in podcasts that are subsequent, whether it be your boss, your relationship, your husband, whatever. That's what I'm here for. Because the more of us that learn really simple mental techniques, really simple spiritual techniques, we change the physical reality we live in. Pretty soon we have more peace, more ease, more joy trickling across the whole world. Remember, there's a spiritual solution for every problem. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.